For 4 bloody long years in the 1860s, the United States was divided. The American Civil War turned brother against brother in some of the bloodiest conflicts ever recorded. It is also one of the most extensively studied and written about episodes in the history of the country. One
of the figures that emerged as fascinating, especially for those here on Delmarva, is Thomas Holliday Hicks, who was the governor of Maryland during the war. Here to help us learn more about him is author and amateur historian Andy Nunez. Welcome back.
Thank you. Thank you.
So refresh our memory, which side was Maryland on?
Maryland was on nobody's side.
Ah.
They were considered a border state, but that was due to Governor Hicks keeping us, in the middle during the conflict.
So was that his stance in the whole war?
That was his stance. He came a little late to the pro-union side, but he did not want Maryland to secede.
Okay.
And so the whole episode that we're going to talk about is how he maneuvered that.
And how was he involved in the Baltimore riots?
Well, he was governor at the time. He was elected governor in 1858 after an illustrious career in the House of Delegates and sheriff of Dorchester County, where he actually, in 1829, arrested the notorious Patty Cannon. And so he was a well-known figure. He was from Dorchester County, born in East Newmarket. So he became governor in 1858. He was a former Whig, joined the Know Nothing Party, just like Anna Ella Carroll did, another great abolitionist, but he was not an abolitionist. However, he also did not want Maryland to secede. Now we talk about the Baltimore riots. That's when Pennsylvania and Massachusetts militia were railroading through Baltimore. They had to stop at one station and then march to another station because there were supposed to be horse-drawn cars for them to transport in, but they didn't. Well, a mob formed because there was a lot of pro-secessionists in Baltimore and Copperheads, which were the anti-war movement, might as well say slightly Confederate folks. So they blocked the path for these troops. There were 4 companies trying to walk from one train station to another, and they threw bricks at them, they threw bottles at them, they shot at them with pistols, and it just got worse and worse and worse until the troops actually had to fire back.
Oh, wow.
And they lost, the soldiers lost 36 men just trying to walk through there, and there were dozens of civilian casualties, of course. They were shooting at them through windows, everywhere it was horrible.
Yeah. Yeah.
So what happened was the governor thought he was just so upset by this, he didn't want any troops to come through Baltimore anymore, so he asked this lieutenant from the Baltimore Horse Guards to go burn the bridges leading into the railroad bridge leading into Baltimore and cut the telegraph wires, though he later retracted, said that he did not tell him that. And the guy ended up in Fort McHenry as a prisoner, this Lieutenant Merriman.
Oh, wow.
And it became a Supreme Court case at the time.
Wow.
So that was part 1. Okay. Part 2 was, after that happened, Lincoln decided he was going to occupy Annapolis and route all the troops through Annapolis and then ship them down to where they needed to go. Since Annapolis was occupied by Union General Benjamin Butler, who was known as the Beast, he was a politician who probably should have stayed a politician, not general. That's another story. Anyway, he decided he did want Maryland to secede. He didn't want it to be pro-union so much. So since he couldn't convene the legislature in Annapolis, he sent him to Frederick, which was very pro-union part of the country, and they voted 53-13 not to secede.
Okay.
So he saved Maryland for the Union,
so
basically.
So you would say that Governor Hicks had an impact on the course that Maryland took?
Yeah. If it hadn't been for him doing that, in all likelihood, Maryland would have seceded, and it would have surrounded Washington, D.C. with Confederate states, because Maryland was heavily pro-slavery because of all the rich plantation owners and things like that. It was only in the western parts and the upper shore that was more pro-union. Even down here, there was a division where Somerset was pro-secessionist, and the northern part of Somerset was anti-secessionist and abolitionist, and after the Civil War, they formed Wycomico County.
Okay.
So all of this had a huge impact on how the fate of not only the nation, but of the state of Maryland.
Very interesting. Andy Nunez, as always, thank you so much
Pleasure.
for another history lesson.